everybody, it's Veronica from DesignaholicStudio.com. I'm back here today with another Christmas in August project. This is a very simple little one. It's quick and easy and it's a fun thing to do. This is a bookmark. It's wooden and it's done in the same technique as I used basically as the plant pokes. Now you may not have all seen the plant poke, so I'm going to go through the process again just for those who didn't see the plant poke video. I'm going to make a few of these. I'm going to put these in stockings. I'm going to attach them to the top of gifts. I'm going to put one in a coffee mug that has a Santa on it with a gift card. There's all sorts of different uses for them. I've got lots of readers in my household and in my family, so they are going to come in very handy. If you can see the back of this one, I actually signed this. It says Grandma, because this is for my one granddaughter who loves to read her dragon books. Now the one that I'm going to do for you today is not going to be exactly the same as this one, but the technique is the same. So I'm just going to put this aside and get started. Here's the one that I've prepped already for you so that I don't spend time doing that. This ultimately is what it looks like when you're ready to start working on it. This is your first coat. I've just put a very dark green on here. I've used our Stamperia Allegro paint. This is called dark green, and that was my base coat. I didn't need 2 coats of this. I'm going to cover this now with Stamperia Allegro titanium white, because as I've said so many times before, when you're going to use a napkin you really should have white underneath it, otherwise you don't get the true color of the napkin coming through. Okay, I'm going to use this brush to paint with. It's just a flat, and I think it'll be just fine. I'm trying to decide whether I should paint with this one because I'm going to use this after the fact for the mixed media glue. Maybe you know what, I will, because it'll take too long with the other brush that I have here. Anyway, okay, after you've painted, oh dear, I forgot a very important step. So I better do that very quickly. After you've done the green on here, or any color underneath that you like, I usually pick out a color that is predominant in the napkin that I'm going to use. And this is the napkin that ultimately I'm going to use on here. I'm not going to use the whole thing, of course. And I picked out a green color because there's lots of green in here. Now you take your wax candle. Doesn't matter what kind of candle you use. It doesn't matter what kind of wax you use. And you just cover the green entirely with wax. Now the whole purpose of this is to protect the coat of green that's underneath when you start rubbing back to give it an antique look. You can use an old votive that you might have in the house. You can use an old dinner candle. Any kind of wax will do. This is an old dinner candle that I had. And I don't find that I use dinner candles very much anymore, so this is coming in very handy to do this job. Okay, now once you put the wax on the entire surface, and on this side I've already done that process. The wax is under there and then I've painted it white. So now I'm going to paint over this with the white paint. You go directly over the wax. And this part I am going to do because I just want to show you how easily it covers. Sometimes you need 2 coats. I don't think I'm going to put 2 coats on this, because I am going to take back a lot of it, so I think I'll just use the 1 coat. Keep the paint out of the hole if you can. You want to make sure you can fit your ribbon and your yarn through there. And almost done. Very, very quick. Hope I don't pull this down too close to me. I tend to work very close to myself, and sometimes it takes my work right off the screen. Okay, now that's going to take a little minute to dry. It shouldn't take too long. So I'm going to just leave it to dry for a second. And I'm going to put my brush into my trusty little jar of water. This is my baby food jar. I kept a few of these that I've used over the years. And I'm glad I did, because they come in very handy for doing little projects like this where you don't need a lot of water, but you need to have some handy. I'm just going to leave the brush in there for now. And as I said, this is the napkin that I'm going to use to do this particular bookmark. This napkin has this pattern on one side, but when you open it up, you can see that it is not a full pattern on the other sides, but that's perfect, because really all I needed was one length of this. So I've already taken that one length off of there. And now I can reuse this and do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more bookmarks if I wanted to use this one again. This is the one that I have already torn out, and remember, I always tear them out, because tearing them out makes a nice edge that will meld right into your paint. You won't even be able to tell it's there. When you cut, you get a very sharp edge, and it's sometimes hard to get rid of that edge. Napkins are 2-ply and 3-ply, and for use with decoupage and collage, you really don't, it really doesn't matter if the napkin is 1-ply or 2-ply. What you're going to do is separate it anyway, and this one appears to be 2-ply. That means you've only got one piece of backing to take off the back. So you very carefully take the backing off of here. You can save that if you want. You can throw it out. It's up to you, whatever you're going to do with it. Once it's off, you can do whatever you like with it. Now, I'm not going to use the whole amount of this particular napkin on here. I'm going to put it down. And this is not quite dry yet, so I'm not ready to do it, but I'm going to show you approximately where I'm going to put it. I'm going to put it approximately there. I'm going to get most of the candy on here, but not all, because I want to leave some room to do something else. Alright, what I'm going to do is just wave this around a bit, because it's almost dry. And if you do this, I should have a hairdryer. I've said that so many times, and I constantly forget. So I won't have a hairdryer for this. Maybe what I'm going to do is pause the video for just half a second and let it dry, and then I'll come right back. Hi everybody, I'm back. It's still not quite dry. There's still a little titch wet, so I'm going to turn it over and show you what I'm going to do on the back, and then I'll work some more on the front. Now remember, this has got the dark green paint underneath, and it's got the wax on top, and then the white paint over that. Oh, I should point out that on this particular one, I used a dark gray underneath. I didn't use the green, because there was a little shadow on this. This one is actually a tissue, one of those little packs of tissues that you can get. And it's had a little shadow of gray around the Santa, so I thought, okay, I won't get rid of that. I will incorporate that by using the gray paint underneath the white instead of green. This one has got green underneath it. Why? Oh, simple reason. My daughter didn't like the gray, so I decided to try it with green instead of gray. She said gray wasn't very Christmassy, so I will try this instead. And the more you scrape, the more of the green shows through. And it's a little bit of a tedious process, but the end result is quite nice. And I don't want to put it down. It would be easier, of course, to put this down and do it that way, but I never make things easy for myself. Since the other side is still a little wet, that probably isn't a good idea anyway. Okay, that's all I'm going to do of that. Just to show you what I'm going to do with the whole thing eventually. And get rid of that, and that's now all that powdered all over my shirt. That's okay, it will wash. And you can see on the back of this one that I've already done, I did that little bit of scraping as well. You can't really tell too much of the difference between the green and the gray here. Maybe if I do a little more scraping, you'll be able to see the green a bit better. Okay, that's dry enough now. I'm going to take my paintbrush that was in the white paint. I'm going to use my napkin and just take out some of the moisture. And now I am going to put my napkin onto my bookmark. And this is my Stamperia mixed media glue, which I love. And I've said many times before too, we do have Mod Podge. People use it all the time. I used it and still do on the odd occasion. So you don't have to use this particular glue. You could use Mod Podge instead. Alright, I'm going to put that napkin right there, leaving a little bit of space around it so that I can do some shading and so that I can also scrape back in those areas, and it'll make this a little bit more interesting. And I'm just going to bend it back a bit, put some mixed media glue on here, let it flatten, and then go back over it, over the top. Now this isn't a very large project, so it might be a little bit more difficult to see. I've got to try and keep things out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. Alright, now lift it from the bottom and bring some glue down and out a bit so that it catches. And pull your napkin just a tiny bit, pull it down a little bit so that it sits flat. This is going to be so cute. Do you remember these Christmas candies? I certainly do. They were my favorite for a long time. The only problem, of course, is they come loose in a bag, and when you put them into a dish, a lovely candy dish, they all stick together, which was a bit of a problem if you only wanted one. Okay, almost done. Look how fast this is. You could do 10 of these in one day, probably more. Make a lovely teacher's gift. You could give the teacher some candy with a bookmark on top, or a novel if you know the kind of books she reads. And there we go. I think that's it. That's good. Now, before this dries, you should take a piece of sandpaper, rough or a rough piece, something that's rough, and you should take off the excess. Now the reason why you do this before it gets all dry is because if it gets dry, it sticks to the side of your project, and then it's harder to get off. You can still get it off, it's just harder. And what have I got here? Some of the scrapings. Some of the scrapings just went onto the pattern, onto the bookmark, and it didn't look very nice, so I want it all. I don't want it like that. Okay, there it is with the excess taken off. Now you can either leave this side scraped, or you could paint it dark green, or you could paint it red. I'm going to leave it because I like the way it looks. It kind of makes it quite continuous, the whole look of it. Now keep in mind that this is a wooden bookmark, and sometimes they tend to bow a little bit. So what I'm going to do after I'm done is I'm just going to sit it under something that's quite heavy. This one didn't. There's no bowing in this one at all. It's perfectly fine. This one is bowing a little bit, which is why I decided to use this one as a demo one. Okay, now that has to dry as well. You can't really do too much else. I'm just pushing down some of the spots where I see it a little tiny bubble there. I saw somebody recently, after they'd done this, now I don't know if they did it before they put down the second coat of glue, but they used one of those little sponge brushes and they just stomped on the napkin, and it seemed to work to take out little bubbles and make it very, very flat. I will try that. I think you must have to do it before you put your second layer on, because if you don't, you've got sticky glue all over the place and it'll get all over the sponge. So that doesn't really work very well. Alright, now I have to wait a little bit for this to dry, because the next thing I'm going to do is scrape back some of the white that's here and all over here, and I can't do that while it's wet because that powder will stick to the napkin. So I'm going to pause again just for a little minute and I will be right back. Hi, I'm back again. Okay, I just thought you might be wondering why I've got some Q-tips here. I'm not going to use them necessarily, but I always have them handy when I'm doing a project just in case I make a boo-boo and I need to get rid of it quickly. Okay, this is fairly dry, so the next thing I'm going to do is take my sandpaper again, and I am going to sand off some of the white just to give this kind of a nice, interesting, and different look to it rather than just having the white up there. Oh, this side's sanding beautifully. It must be because I put 2 coats on the other side, and that made it harder to sand. So there's a tip for you. If you want it easy to sand off, just put 1 coat of white on there. I only put 1 coat on this side because I was going to put the candies on here and they take up a lot of the space anyway, so I didn't need the 2 coats. However, the ease with which this is coming off makes it very likely that I won't use 2 coats very often because I really like the way this looks. And I'm just going to go in here a little bit closer to the candies. There we go. I think that's enough. You could do a little bit more up in the corner. There, that looks kind of nice. And I could even scrape a little bit off down here. It gives it a bit of a worn look. I know not everybody likes that, but I tend to really like that. Okay, good enough. Let's just wipe it off, blow it off, make sure it's all gone. And I think this dust I'm going to just collect in my hand and throw in the garbage so it's not all over the place, including on my shirt. There we go, it's in the garbage. Okay, now, next step. If you look at this, it's very difficult to see where the candies are because it's white on white. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Daler Rowney watercolors and a dark green, and I'm going to shade around the candies so they stand out and you can see them more easily. Now on the Santa, I did shade. You can see I shaded up in this corner with the dark gray. Now because there was I didn't like the way the dark gray was going on, I used the acrylic paint to do this, which worked just as well. And it works fine as long as you don't use it too heavily. You have to be careful that you don't put too much paint on. You should have some water in your brush when you use it. And I did go around the Santa with the gray as well so that he pops out of the bookmark because he's the most important thing there. You want to see Santa. Now I also used some of the Craft Twinkles brush on glitter paint on top of his beard and his fur, and I used the white paint as well with a little dabber, and I just dabbed dots here and there to give some dimension to the fur on his Santa suit. Okay, now I'm just going to do today's project with the watercolor paint because there's a very pretty green here and it's not too dark. And I'm going to go around the candy. Now that will go onto, that's going to go onto the little bit of paper that was left there, but that's fine. Now this is bugging me. So I'm going to try and get this off. This was a little bit of paper that got a little bit crinkled when I was putting it down. And I'm not loving that, so I'm going to just try and take that off. And I scraped off a little bit of the white paint, but that's fine, because that's what I was doing anyway. Anyway, there's that pretty green. And let's just go right around the candy so that it actually looks like there's a candy there. And when you're doing this, don't have an edge. You're trying not to have an edge there. You just blend it and use your paper towel frequently. Blend the color into the background. This is not hard. It just, you have to be aware that you don't want a harsh line there. Just blend it in. Put a little bit more water on your brush if need be. Let me see how that's looking. Taking a little bit more of it up there. I still see some crinkled paper here. That's bugging me. There, that's better. I am thinking that this green is not quite dark enough. Well, maybe I'll do a little bit more. If I don't like it, I'm just going to go, you don't have to take it off. You can literally just go right over it with acrylic paint if you want to. And if you don't like the way it looks, then that's what you should do. You don't have to settle. You get it to look like you want it to look, and you keep working at it until it does. And you can change your mind about what you want to do mid-project. Now, I am putting it on in a line, but then I'm going back with a little bit of additional water and softening out those ends. The good thing about the watercolor is that you can continue to do this for a little while. It's not quite so easy to do this with acrylic paint. Once the acrylic paint dries, it's pretty much there. The watercolor, you can keep playing with it. And I see a little bit of crumpled paint paper here too, and I don't like that, so off it goes. Huh. I don't know. Let's do the rest. I might need to go back and make it a little bit darker. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe it's too light. Anyway, around we go. If you watched the video that I did with the decoupage and the reindeer, I did a lot of shading on that one. And it was it came out really nicely. It was nice and dark. It was done, the shading was done with dark gray because it just fit into the whole theme of the work, and it looked fabulous. But this one I'm not so sure of. For some reason I'm really seeing those edges, which you don't normally, and I don't like it. I think I'm going to need the darker paint. Oh boy, this one scrapes off even just with a fingernail. You will have to protect that. You know what? I'm not loving that. I'm going to try it with the dark green acrylic paint and see if I like it better. And this is kind of good. Just put a tiny bit out on your palette paper or on your surface here. This is one of those protective surfaces that you buy. Okay, let's try this. Now remember, when you're using acrylic paint, you just use a tiny little bit. Don't have too much water in your brush or you're going to have it running all down everywhere. Okay, let's try this then. And am I liking this? I think I'm liking this better already, because I'm going to put some up here to darken this edge and some here. Oh yes, I like this much better. So my suggestion is that you use the acrylic paint. Now if you like the very pale green around your candy, then by all means use the watercolor. You have that choice. And not everybody is going to like it the way I like it, that's for sure. Even my daughter, who tells me she doesn't like the gray in the background because it doesn't look Christmassy enough. So there you go. Everybody's got their own taste. And you keep using your water, take out some of the color, And make sure these edges are soft. That looks nice. Add a little more green up here. That looks even better. This is why sometimes when I'm going to do a video, I do the work first on another piece, because I change my mind 100 times. And you can't keep changing your mind on a video. You can change your mind 100 times if you're doing it for yourself, but not on a video. So this way, when I do the work first, if I don't like it, I can do something a little bit differently when I do it as a video. I really like that much better than light green. But again, that's up to you. You've seen the light green on there. So if you like that better, then use the light green. Yeah, and I am kind of painting around these to begin with, and then softening that later. Because you do need a sharp line right up against the candy. It's when you get out into the background that you want it to soften up. Even that's not soft enough. That needs to be blended. Those edges need to be blended out a little bit more. Unfortunately, this acrylic paint today is not drying too quickly, which gives us a little play time. Once it's dry on a project, that's it. I kind of like that. It's a little bit too dark right up here. I didn't blend this enough, and as a result of that, I do have a line there that I can see, and you're not supposed to have lines. It doesn't look nice. There, that's better. And there's the other thing, you can go back in, you can fix it, you can change it. If it's not dark enough, you can darken it. I'm going to put a little bit of water there, just with my brush with no paint on it. And then I'm going to go back around, outlining the candy. In this particular project, you're going to have to do this because you lose the candy entirely. It just disappears right into the background. It doesn't even look like candy. Here we go. See, now that started to dry, and it's harder to work with. And this is where you might use a dampened Q-tip. So I want that off of there, so that helps to get it off. Okay, let's keep going. I really would like to finish this for you. I don't want to leave you hanging with this. And around the green one and the red one. And in here. Now I think what's going to happen is I'm going to look at this when I'm done, and I'm going to say, okay, this needs to be a little bit darker here, and this needs to be a little bit darker here, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back like I did up at the top. That looks much better. And wipe off some of the paint that you're accumulating on your brush. And okay, you see this spot right here? I don't like that. So I'm going to try and fix that up a bit. And the way you fix this is to darken it. Now I can tell what's happening here. What's happening is the paint is kind of sticking to the paper that still was on the napkin when I put it on the bookmark. And sometimes it does that, so you have to kind of work at that to really make it disappear. Unless you like it the way it is, which is fine too. I may work at that a little bit later. I'm not crazy about the way that's looking, but I'm not going to sit here trying to fix that because that'll take a while, and I want to get going and move on to the next thing that I'm going to do on here. there. I'm wondering if that's a little bit too dark. So I'm going to have to... I know that this is looking difficult, but it's not difficult. It's just wetting your brush, getting rid of some of the paint, putting a little more paint on, getting rid of the paint again if you don't like it. And that's all there is to it. It's not difficult. You just have to keep playing. And ultimately, it's going to look terrific no matter what you do. See, now that comes out very far, so this has to come out farther. This one down here, that looked like there was a scrap on there or something. And I'm going to go into the corner bit and up that edge. Oh yeah, my daughter's going to love this. She's going to say, oh, that's Christmassy, Mom. Lots of green and red. She's very traditional that way. My sister, on the other hand, she likes a Grinchy Christmas. She likes purples and pinks and turquoise, and that's kind of how she decorates. So when I asked her to do a card for us for the website, and I asked her to do it in more traditional Christmas colors, she kind of balked at that because she said that's not in her wheelhouse. I said, oh well, you know, think outside the box, do what you can, and so she's working on that as we speak. Okay, now this area that's not wide enough here, I'm just going to bring that out a bit, right up to where that is, and I am going to just soften that. Now, when you're softening, something else I should mention is keep a very light touch on your brush. You do not need to work by pressing it down. The paint moves easily, so keep a light touch. Almost feather-like. Now let me see. Oh, I kind of like that. Oh, can you see it? When I look at it, I have to look at it from a distance. Now maybe I need a little bit more down here just because this corner should be a bit darker. I don't think I'm gonna go all the way up. I'm just gonna darken up this corner a little bit. And that might be it. It's done. Now I will look at it again later and decide. I'll put it aside maybe and then come back to it. Sometimes you have to step away. I mean, I am making a big deal out of this. This is a little bookmark and I really don't need to make such a big deal out of it, but that's the way I work. Okay, let me see. There we go. I think I like it just the way it is. Now I might, and I probably will, go down the sides a little bit with some dark green. Not a lot. Just to sort of make it look like it fits in with what I've done on the front. There we go. Just here and there. Nothing too... Don't get carried away with it. I don't want the whole thing green. I just want to have a little bit of green here and there. So almost with the brush kind of dry, you do that. And of course, on the back, you're going to do pretty much the same thing as you did on the front, only this can be a lot faster because you're not going around anything. You're just pretty much doing the edges. And down. Just darken up the edges and the top. And that'll be fine. Oh, look at it. Look what happened here. I got a drip. And I'll bet you that's there for good. So I might have to get a little bit darker there. It dripped. I'm going to leave room, a little bit of room for my signature. Whether I put Mom on here or Grandma, I don't know. Or my name, if I decide to give it to somebody else. It is nice to sign your name somewhere. Okay, now when I do sign my name, I can do it in this dark green and it will show beautifully. There. Now I did that, excuse me, very quickly, and that's how fast it should be. This part of it shouldn't take you long at all. That's perfect. And that's fine too. Okay, what I'm going to do now. Whoops, somehow something got on here. Now, let me see, there's my Q-tip. That's why I keep them handy. Every now and again you find you need them. I don't often need them, but sometimes. There. Alright. Now, I would like to glitter this up a little bit, so I am going to get rid of this so that I don't stick my arm in it, because I will if the opportunity presents itself. Get a piece of paper, put my bookmark down on the paper, and I think I'm going to just, oh, you know what, I can't put my glue away. I mean, I can't put my paper with the paint away. I need my palette paper, so I'll try and keep the paint part over to the right. And I am going to use some of this the Craft Twinkles brush on glitter paint. Now this is on its way to our site, and I will make sure that my daughter, who does more of the administrative work, that she makes you aware of the fact that this has arrived. Now you can use other glitter, you can just use a glitter glue if you like, and I'm sure everybody has some of that. Oh, we're going to start with the green. This is the Laza holographic fine glitter that we have on our site. It's a beautiful glitter because it has that holographic look and it really shimmers. So I'm going to take some of that. I put the glitter paint there. I am just going to use a toothpick. I was going to use a liner and then decided I don't need to do that. And I'm going to go along this line right here and just do that and work quickly. Go across this one, and if I need to go back and do this again, I will. And down here. And then hopefully that's good enough. I have this little spoon that comes with this glitter, and I'm going to put some green glitter on here, and come on, off the spoon. I don't want it, I could just tap it out of the bottle, but then you've got it everywhere, which I'm sure it's going to be anyway. And I'm just going to tap, 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 and hopefully it stayed wet. And you do need, and of course I didn't bring it, so I'm going to use this little brush. This is just an old scruffy, very old paintbrush that I have, and I'm just going to take off some of the excess glitter using that. And it looks like I may have to go back and do it again. Now, I don't really want to do that 10 times with you guys watching, so I may not. Now, when this is on the site, you're going to see pictures of it, and it will, yeah, see, it's coming off. So I'm going to have to go back, let this dry a little bit, and go back. I don't even know if I like that there. I don't know if I do. What What happens if I... Yeah, no, you know what? For now, I'm getting glue all over my brush. I should have left that for a bit. And then it's sticking in other places that I don't want it. Like right there. So I'm going to just leave that as is for now. And I have shown you how to do that. Once again, I'm going to pause for a little bit, and when I come back, the glue and the glitter will be on all of the candies, and I will have a little bit of ribbon. Oh, one thing I did do, I did varnish this after I was done to keep the glitter on, because the glitter does tend to come off. Even the glitter glue, sometimes it comes off. If you varnish it, it'll hold it on. Yeah, I don't know why that's not coming off there. I don't know. Maybe it's because... Well, that helped a little bit blowing on it, but I'm going to let that just sit like that for a bit. I'm going to take a little break. I'm going to go make myself a coffee, finish this up, and then show it to you. Because you've seen what I've done. I put some glue, some glitter. My spoon just fell right into my glitter paint. Yep. I don't need glitter paint all over that spoon. Okay. I'm going to finish this up. I'm going to do it while you guys are waiting for it. I'm going to have a coffee, and I will bring this back to you finished with some yarn and some ribbon in the top and a little bit more glitter and perhaps even a coat of varnish on here. Okay, I'm not going to say goodbye just yet because I will be back. Hi everybody, I'm back one last time, and I've done some things to this bookmark while it was drying, and I wanted to show them to you because I think that it's something you need to do slowly, take your time with. I did show you how to put the glitter onto the lines, and I did show you that I was using my brush, which has, oh, it's in the water. There it is. How you take your brush, your little scruffy brush, and you get rid of all the excess glitter and then put it back in your jar because you're going to need it again at some point. So I did the green lines, and I did the red on this candy, and I did the green here. I have not varnished it. I did do a little bit of additional shading here, and because I didn't like this paper still, I scraped it off, and fortunately it scraped off just with my fingernail, which was excellent. I used my little bit of yarn. This is just scraps that I had around the house. I didn't go out and buy it anywhere, it was just here. I used my tiny little green and red ribbon to put in the tag tassel that goes up at the top that you hold your bookmark by. And then after doing all of that, I decided to do one last thing. And I am again using the brush on glitter paint, but we do have glitter glue on our site, and that glitter glue will do just as good a job. You don't have to use this glitter paint. So while you're waiting for the glitter paint to come online onto our site, you could use glitter glue. And what I'm doing is taking this paintbrush and adding this little bit of sparkle to the white areas on these candies, and I did it here, all around there. That's probably dry already, and I think I will go over it again. At the very end, I am going to varnish this because the glitter, the red and the green glitter, may come off if I don't. So I'm going to varnish it. If I find that the varnish dulls the glitter a little bit, I probably will go back and put some more glitter on, and if that glitter comes off, well, so be it. At least there'll be glitter underneath, and it will still look beautiful. My daughter passed by. She did comment. She said that she loves the green. She said she loves the glitter on the candies. So I guess this one's hers. I was going to give it to my other granddaughter, but I'll have to make another one with her for her. Okay, now I'm going to finish this one up here. Okay, there we go. Now, I don't know. Can you see that? Oops. I hope you can. It's glittering a little bit. I don't know if you can see it. It's glittering a lot here, but I don't know if it's glittering that much on the camera. Alright, I'm going to go over this a little bit more, one more time. Give it a little bit of additional glitter. Now the glitter paint, or the glitter glue, that doesn't come off. It's when you drop on this type of glitter that it tends to come off if you don't put a protective coat over it. It does, like I said, it may dull it a bit. If it does, then go back and put some more on after you've varnished. Or not. You may find that it didn't dull it enough to worry about it. There we go. I'm done. If I decide to go back in and put a little bit more glitter on the other candies, I will do that later. But you can see everything I've done here to make this bookmark. And I think it's just as cute, if not cuter, than the Santa. There they are, the two of them. Now, I'm going to do a few more. As I said, they're a perfect little gift. They're an add-on. You can include a bookmark with a book. You can give one to anybody that you know that reads with a gift card. There are so many little things you can do with it. Put it in. I still make stockings for my adult daughters. I think I could put one of these in each of their stockings. Well, that's our bookmark finished. On the majority of the products that I've used today are available at designaholicstudio.com. I've linked the ones that are available in the description below. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm wishing you a fun crafting day and leaving you with my mantra, try it, you'll love it.